shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real wealth is being real itself. My I haven't seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. It's time to switch it up, put the hip shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real wealth is being real itself. My I haven't seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. Money. All you know is like being wealthy. Like Kanye West says, having money is not everything, not having it is. No, Deuteronomy 8:8 says, God gives us the ability to create wealth. No, it's the love of money that's involved. You know, why money so much? Why do we get up to go to most parts? I'm just trying to leave a legacy for money. That's not everything, but when you got it, you can do some cool stuff. Now, your host for Talking Money in the Morning, financial health mentor to the working class, Cortez.
Good morning. It is your main man here, H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the working class, where I do my very best to bring practical yet proven wealth building strategies to working class men and women all over this great nation of ours. I do count it both an honor and a privilege to have you here with me this morning, and I do not take this opportunity lightly to present to you guys. Let me just get my lower third up, and then we're gonna get rocking and rolling, man. All righty, so today we have a wonderful show for you this morning. We're going to be talking about 3 words that could be sabotaging your success. 3 words that could literally be keeping you broke, busted, and disgusted. So we're going to talk about those 3 words, and type in the chat below if you think you know what these 3 words are. And guys, if you're tuning in to us via Facebook, then do me a huge favor and go ahead and share the stream on your wall. Let's get some people involved in this conversation. But if you think you know what these 3 words are, then I want you to type them below. I think they're going to blow your mind when we get really get into it. But as always, who is this show is for? This show is for the riser and grinder in you. If you woke up this morning with legacy on your brain and you're going to do something to bring that legacy to manifestation, this show is for you. If you are the type of person that has the desire deep down inside, you have the will, you have the discipline, but maybe you lack a game plan, maybe you don't understand some principles as it relates to wealth, success, this show is for you. If you went to bed last night visualizing where you're going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and you're getting up every morning, putting one foot in front of the other to get you to that place, then my friend, this show is for you. Now, on the other hand, who is the show not for? If you sat back last night and you watched that debate and you got excited about either one of those 2 people, I can promise you this show is not for you. If you're sitting back waiting to figure out which one of those people are going to actually fix the economy instead of focusing on your economy, this show, my friend, is not for you. If you have one of those weird relationships with money, you can't determine whether money is good or bad, you think capitalism is a dirty word, I can promise you this show is not for you, because I can guarantee you, I'm going to say the word money, legacy, wealth, probably about 300 more times in the next 22 minutes or so. But let's be clear, I do not have a problem with you not wanting to be wealthy. It is your prerogative to be content with where you are. I only have a problem with you if you have a problem with me wanting to be wealthy. If you've never seen a future billionaire before, I want you to take a screenshot because you're looking at one right now. If you have a problem with me just having the audacity to say that, then this show is not for you. Today's show is brought to you by Drake's Place, man. My good friends, Bridget and Sonny over at Drake's Place right on New Florissant Road. If you're not familiar with that in the Ferguson area, great little restaurant, American cuisine, nice atmosphere, great service, good prices for the portions of food that they serve. If you are not supporting Drake's Place, then I want you to do me a favor. Go by Drake's Place one day this week and tell them your main man, H. Cortez, sent you by. She'd be happy to see you. But that is, and I'll put the full address in the description. I don't have it right at the top of my head, but it's really cool little restaurant, man, and I had a good time entertaining a friend who came in town from California, showing them around town, and we got a chance to talk to the owners. So I told her I'd give her a shout out and make her an honorary sponsor of the show. So again, that is Drake's Place on New Florissant Road. If you're in the St. Louis area, right there in Ferguson, I want you to go by Drake's Place and tell Miss Bridget and the crew over there that H. Cortez sent you guys. Now, let's get on to today's show. There's 3 words that are literally keeping you from the success that you want to have, keeping you broke, busted, and disgusted. But if you're on Facebook, I want you to type in the chat, what do you think those 3 words are? What 3 words could be keeping you or sabotaging your success? There's 3 words that are killing a lot of us, and we don't realize it. And some of us spit these 3 words out without even giving, really thinking about the ramifications. So that's why we want to do this show for you guys this morning. But before we get into the 3 words, I want to talk a little bit about wisdom. And you know, I don't know how many of you guys are believers out there and are Christians or even read the Bible, but guess what? You don't have to be a believer to read the Bible, and you don't have to be a believer to recognize truth wherever you see it. But the Bible talks a great deal in the books of Proverbs about the importance of ascertaining wisdom and the benefits of ascertaining wisdom, because wisdom will feed you all the days of your life. Wisdom will bring to you everything that you need to survive if you are to attain wisdom, right? Wisdom is more precious than rubies, it says. So there are a lot of scriptures that talk about the power and the impact of attaining wisdom. So before we get into the 3 words that are literally killing you, sabotaging your success, then we want to also just break down some truths about wisdom. And according to Myron Golden, there's 3 prerequisites to wisdom, some things that you have to get in place before you can acquire wisdom. And number 1, he said the first prerequisite to wisdom is actually ignorance, right? Now, I know this sounds weird, but he said ignorance is not something to be disrespectful towards someone, but ignorance is simply defined as the absence of truth, right? So it's the absence of truth. So if you can't, you can't get to wisdom without first having ignorance, because when you don't have truth, you can't seek something unless you don't have it. So it starts, your journey to wisdom starts with the absence of truth, right? Then the second prerequisite is knowledge. And what is knowledge? Knowledge he defines as the accumulation of truth, right? So you have the absence of truth, which is ignorance. You have the acquisition of truth, which is knowledge. And then you have to get understanding, which is understanding is the why. Why is this true? And when you understand those 3 things, you're on the path to wisdom. So the absence of truth, which is ignorance, knowledge is the accumulation of truth. And then before you can become wise, which is the application of truth, you have to understand why something is true. So I don't know about you guys, but as a young man coming up, before I got to school, I don't know, even before the 1st or 2nd grade, before we started getting into our times tables or our multiplication facts, most kids knew that 12 times 12 equals 144, right? Because there was a little nursery rhyme. And then, you know, we would challenge each other on things like that. But when we were that young, we knew for a fact that 12 times 12 is 144, but we had no understanding of why 12 times 12 equaled 144. So we were still in a state of ignorance based on, even though we knew some truth, we didn't understand why that truth was true. So you have to get understanding, understand the why behind those things, and then you can get to a place where you can really start, you know, applying truth. And that to me is the definition of wisdom. It's the applied truth. Now, based on that, let's talk about the 3 words that are killing you or sabotaging your success. You guys ready for those 3 words? The 3 words are this, and hopefully from this day on, you will never string these 3 words together in a phrase or in this particular order to make this phrase, because it is literally killing you from a practical standpoint. That is keeping you from your growth that you need to have success. It's keeping you from your growth to improve relationships and all. So the 3 words that are killing you, keeping you broke, keeping you from success, sabotaging your own success. You ready? I already know. 3 words that are sabotaging your success, keeping you broke, keeping you from your dreams and goals. 3 words are this: I already know. Right now, that seems very elementary, I know, but guys, if you don't understand this, don't let this get away from you. The reason we sometimes cannot get to where we want to go is because we think we already know everything that there is to know. Now, I will tell you this. I'm a lifelong student, eternal. I study all kinds of stuff because what I realize is, again, the prerequisite of wisdom is ignorance. So every time I learn something new, that's a demonstration to how ignorant I am. Or in other words, I learn one new truth, and that truth reveals to me that I don't know 1,000 other truths. So that keeps me yearning to learn more and to seek more and to seek knowledge, to acquire more knowledge. And then the more knowledge I acquire, the more I realize the ignorance that I have and not understanding why that's true. So I start seeking understanding. But when I came out of that place where the arrogance and the ego within me, every time someone would try to say something to me, even if I didn't say this out loud, I'm thinking to myself, I already know that. I already know that. I already know. I already know. So when you already know something, or you put up that wall that you already know, you don't let new information in. And when you don't let new information in, you can never get a new output, right? Because your output is heavily determined on the input. And if you already know every cotton picking thing, then you're not going to grow. And if you're not going to grow, you're not going to have success in any area of your life, because the world is ever changing. So you have to be constantly changing in order to keep up with the times. You have to be constantly growing. You have to be constantly feeding new information in. You have to be willing to admit to yourself that you don't know. Otherwise, you will never get to the place of wisdom where you're actually able to apply what you know. Because you may know the fact, just like as a first grader, second grader, I knew 12 times 12 was 144, but I didn't know why. And when you don't know why, sometimes it's the why is required for you to actually apply what you know. So you got a lot of people out here running around talking about what they know. And the reason they can't get ahead is because when you know or believe that you know, you don't admit the ignorance that exists. When there is no existence of ignorance, there is no motivation to acquire knowledge. And when you don't acquire knowledge, then there's no motivation to seek understanding, right? So for me, I seek out knowledge. First of all, I think Erykah Badu says a man who knows something knows he knows nothing at all. And that is so true, because every time I learn something, I realize how much more there is to actually learn about a particular subject, right? So you have to start with ignorance, tear down your own ego, tear down your own arrogance, and begin with the foundation of ignorance. And don't let ignorance fool you into believing that ignorance is me disrespecting you. All ignorance is the absence of truth, right? So when you realize that I have no truth, so I got this bucket right here that has no truth in it, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to seek out truth. That's knowledge, the acquisition of truth. So I'm going to seek out truth and start filling this bucket with truth. But guess what? Every time I put truth in this bucket, I realize there is more truth to be acquired, right? So now that I have the truth in this bucket, I start to ask myself, why is this true? So when my teachers began to break down to me what 12 times 12 equals 144, what that really meant is you have a group of 12 here, you have a group of 12 here, and you have 12 groups of 12. And then when you total all 12 of those groups up, you're going to get to 144 every time. That's just a fact. So now I start to get understanding of what I know. So it starts with ignorance first. I don't know. I don't have truth. Starts with the acquisition of truth. Now I know a little truth, but I don't know why it's true. And then I get understanding. I begin to understand why it's true, because without the understanding of why it's true, then I can't properly apply the knowledge so that it becomes wisdom, right? And that's what this thing is all about. If you are not seeking knowledge, if you are not seeking understanding of the knowledge or the truths that you know, then you will never be able to apply those truths. And life is all about learning, changing, growing, evolution. But we all know people who know every damn thing. And those people have been stuck in the exact same place for the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Right? Can everybody agree? We all know people who know every damn thing, who've been stuck in the exact same place for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Why is there no evolution? Because when you know everything, you're stopping new information from coming in. If you never get a new input, you can never produce a new output. Point blank, period. And that's all it is. That evolution of that person is stuck within because they're not letting new information in. Right? It's like a sponge. You have a sponge. A sponge can only hold so much water. But at the same time, the sponge can accumulate an infinite amount of water. What do I mean? If you got a bucket of water here and you got an empty bucket here, when you dip that sponge into that bucket, it can only hold so much water, meaning at one time. But if I take that soap sponge over here and I squeeze it real tight and wring all the water out of it, then I can go and grab more water. Our brains are the same way. Those people who know everything but are stuck in the same place, the reason they are stuck is because they won't apply what they know. If you never apply what you know, even if you do know some things, guess what? You will retain all of that information. Nothing new is coming in. You're not getting a new input. Therefore, you will not apply what you know to get a new output. So I subscribe to a formula that we like to call learn, do, teach. Why is that important? Because every time I learn something, I get the understanding. I start with ignorance. I acquire the knowledge. Then I start to understand or know why that knowledge, which is truth, I start to understand why that truth is true. And then I have to apply the knowledge. So when I say learn, do, teach, you learn something, you do it, and you teach it simultaneously. That's why I'm always on here every morning. I'm learning something new every day. I'm implementing it and I'm teaching it at the same time, because when I learn it, that's it getting into my spirit. When I do it, I'm gaining a valuable experience from doing it. I'm actually going through the trial and error, and I'm picking up even more information during the application of it. And then when I teach you, right? When I teach you, so when I do this show and I'm teaching, then I get the information all over again. So I love, I'm a big time lyricist when it comes to music. I love good lyrics. Now, don't get me wrong. I can appreciate a banging track, but I love good lyrics. And I can't, one thing that I'm not good at is remember song titles and stuff. But in one of India Irie's songs, she says, the words that come out your mouth, you're the first to hear. And I thought that was so profound. The words that come out of your mouth, you're the first to hear. So when I learn something, I bring it in the first time. I do something, then I'm sending it back out. So it came in, now I'm actually in the application of that thing, and it's getting organized in my brain how to actually apply this stuff. Then I turn around and teach it at the same time. Now it's coming out of me again through you guys, and then back, because the words that come out of my mouth, I'm the first to hear. So all that I'm doing is every time I learn something, I do it, I teach it, it solidifies in me that which I'm learning. Now I am, because I've done it and I've taught it, I've actually compartmentalized it in my brain, and I made room to learn more, right? But if you learn something, because I used to be this way. I mean, I was an avid YouTube listener. I still am. I go and listen to lectures on health, wealth, exercises. I'm a youth basketball coach. So I would get all of this information, and I just would store it away. But it got to a point, because I wasn't using it, because I wasn't applying it, because I wasn't teaching it, it got to a point where I couldn't receive any new information. But it's amazing, the minute I started the learn, do, teach process, where I would learn something, I would do it myself, then I would teach it to my kids. As far as exercise, I would learn something, I would do something, I would teach it to my students in my online marketing coaching practice. So as I started doing that, it just seemed like I just became, my mind just grew infinitely large in my ability to attain more and more and more information, and retain more and more information. And it's not that my mind changed, it's because I was learning it, doing it, and teaching it at the same time. It was getting into my spirit. So it's kind of like this. If you learn it and you get understanding, it goes onto the hard drive. It goes onto the hard drive. But how many people know that the hard drive only has so much space, right? The hard drive only has so much space. But when I take it as it goes in, and it goes onto the hard drive, and then I take it off the hard drive and start applying it, I take it off the hard drive and I start teaching it to others, then it leaves the hard drive, it gets into my spirit, or in other words, it goes into the cloud. And everybody knows that the cloud has an infinite amount of space. So now I don't have to store it on a hard drive, but anytime I get ready to go and grab something, I can grab it from the cloud, because I've learned it, I've done it, and I've taught it, and it's got into my spirit. Now it's a part of me, and it's a part of me forever. So I don't have to store it on a hard drive. That means the hard drive is wiped clean almost every couple of days, and I can take on new information. I can learn more, I can do more, I can teach more. That means I can evolve faster than most people. And when my evolution is leading me towards success, then that means I can have success faster than most people, because of simple principles. Because I started out with admitting that I'm ignorant, that I lack truth. When I admit that I'm ignorant in something, then when somebody sits me down and tells me something, I don't say, I already know, and tune it out. I say, okay, how can this information help me? How can I learn, do, and teach this? That's my thought process every time somebody tells me anything. How can I learn, do, and teach this? As I start to move in that direction, it gets into my spirit. Now it becomes a part of me. In other words, it's in the cloud for me to use forever. But I don't have to maintain space on my hard drive, my internal hard drive. So I have access to all of this knowledge, but it's not taking up space. Why is it important that it doesn't take up space? Because I can put more and more information on this hard drive. I keep learning, doing, and teaching. I keep storing a wealth of knowledge in the cloud that I can always reach up and access, but I keep my hard drive clear so I can always be picking up new information, because you never know where a new lesson is going to come from. You know, wisdom can come out of the mouth of a baby. But when your hard drive is already full because you haven't yet applied the knowledge that you've already accumulated, then you won't recognize that wisdom. You won't recognize that. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the 3 words that are keeping you from the success that you need. right? I already know. Get those 3 words in succession like that, in that phrase, out of your vocabulary. If you want wealth, if you want success, if you want to go from glory to glory, you have to get those 3 words out of your vocabulary. I already know. I promise they're killing your success. They're killing your ability to grow and evolve, because again, when you already know something, you're shutting down your brain from receiving new information, and you have to have a new input if you're ever going to produce a new output. Point blank, period. If you don't get a new input, then the output will continue to be the same. Point blank, period. That's just the name of the game. So if you don't understand anything else, just try it out. Just try it out. When you hear someone talking and you get ready to start thinking, I already know this, just say, nope, I don't know this. I'm ignorant. All right, I'm an empty bucket. I'm ignorant means I lack truth. So let me pick out the truth that's being said here. That is knowledge. That is the accumulation of truth. All knowledge is the accumulation of truth. And then once you accumulate the truth, here's the truth that was displayed. Let me understand why that was true. Now you get understanding. It takes all 3. You have to start with ignorance. You have to acquire truth. You have to understand what makes that truth true in order to be able to apply it, because it is applied truth that is wisdom. Wisdom is applied truth. All right, how do you apply the truth so that now you can become wise from the experience that you gain by applying the truth? And then you add the formula that I use: learn, do, teach. And that's what it's all about. That's what we're supposed to be doing with our children. We go out into the world every day, we learn something, we do it, and we come home and teach it to our babies immediately. And it goes into the cloud. We have eternal access to that wisdom that we can always use for the rest of our life. We always talked about a couple of weeks ago in the show we did the various forms of wealth. Knowledge, or should I say wisdom, is the #1 form of wealth, because where did every other wealth come from? It came from knowledge. It came from truth. And then someone took that truth and they learned how to apply it in a certain way. They took the truths of math and science and applied it to create this computer, create this smartphone, right? It came from knowledge, and they understood why the truths were there, and then they applied what they knew and understood and were able to create wealth. That's what this thing is all about. So if you are struggling, if you're looking in the mirror, now I'm not looking at anybody in particular, but if you're looking in the mirror and you're saying, you know what, for the last 10 years, I've been in the same spot. The last 10 years, I've been in this same spot, right? Then ask yourself, when someone is presenting new information to you, are you in the I already know mode? Because I promise you, if you are open to receiving new information, you will always evolve, because new information causes you to see the world differently. And whenever you see the world differently, you react and respond to the world differently. And whenever you start reacting to and responding to something differently, you're always going to get a different result. You're always going to get a different result. Whenever you react to something differently, that changes the result. You think about that in a relationship. If I react to my wife the exact same way every time, I get the same result every time, right? But if I change the way I react, then I will get a different result every time. But if we are in the I already know phase, right, we can't receive new information. Therefore, when we don't receive new information, we see the world exactly the same, and we always respond exactly the same. But when you get to a humbling position and say, you know what, I don't know, I am ignorant to this truth, right? And then you can receive the truth, which is knowledge, is the acquisition of truth. And then you will gain understanding. Why is this true? And once you have all 3 of those components, you apply the truth. And from that experience, you gain what we call wisdom. Wisdom is more precious or more rare than rubies. You get wisdom and everything else will fall into place. You understand how to apply the truths that you know, everything else will take care of themselves. your wealth, your health, your relationships, your emotions, everything will take care of themselves when you get out of I already know mode, right? So let's do a quick Q&A. If you got any questions, type them in the chat. Facebook or YouTube, jump over to Facebook to Financial Health Mentor on Facebook where I'm streaming live. You can type in the chat there because the chat doesn't work really well on YouTube for whatever reason. I never can see a question if somebody is typing in there. But I hope, guys, this made sense to you. I hope you're going to open yourselves up whenever you get to a place and start thinking, I already know. You know, because you can't. It is again, that sponge analogy is so true. If you are telling your brain, which has an infinite capacity to learn, but you're saying you already know something, now you're taking something that has an infinite capacity and limiting it to what you already know. And what you already know has gotten you what you already have. And if you're not satisfied with that, what are you going to do that's different? Try to think about that. If what you already know has gotten you to where you are right now, and you're not satisfied with that, what are you going to do that's different? You have to admit to yourself that you're ignorant to a lot of things. Every time I learn something, I understand how much more there is for me to learn or know. And every time I learn or know or I acquire some truths, then I start digging into understanding, why is this true? What makes this true? And every time I uncover what makes something true, then it starts the process all over again. Oh, crap. I was ignorant to this all along. So I need to know more about this. I learn more about this. I acquire new truths about it. Then I have to then dig into why that truth exists. Biscuit. Sorry, guys. My dog looked like you want to go downstairs. You get up here and go outside. Go down, man. Sorry about that. It looked like he was making a move to try to go downstairs and cock his leg up. So I had to send him outside. So guys, that's what this thing is all about. It's about your evolution. And sometimes people don't realize why they're not evolving. And I hope this helps you guys, because I was stuck in a certain place for a long time. And my being stuck wasn't so much because of I was not acquiring knowledge. It wasn't because I wasn't acquiring or trying to gain understanding of why something is true. My issue was the actual application, the doing and the teaching. That was my issue. So I had to come out of my comfort zone and start applying what I knew. So I started doing, I started teaching what I knew. And then, guys, I'm telling you, like a waterfall, I believe that all of this information had what was sitting on the top of this hard drive, ready to flood this hard drive. But because I wasn't doing anything with what I was learning, and I wasn't teaching any what I was learning, it just couldn't come in. And then when I start teaching and I start doing, actually applying the information, then I got a flood, an instant download of, I don't know how many trillions of gigabytes and terabytes of information. But then I started the process of learn, do, teach. So now every time I get my hands on some knowledge, I apply it right away so I can gain wisdom. What is the wisdom? That is the experience of the application of the truth and the understanding of that truth. When you apply the truth and the understanding of that truth, you get an experience called wisdom. And the more of those experiences that you get, then you can better position yourself for evolution. Then you can start growing. You can start going from glory to glory. I promise you guys, if you are in the same spot for longer than a week or two, it's probably because knowledge is all around you trying to get in, but you're rejecting it by these three words. I already know. Got to get out of that. Got to get out of the I already know mode. and start admitting to your ignorance. Again, Erykah Badu, a man that knows something knows he knows nothing at all. And I promise, every time I learn something, that rings true. Every time I learn something, I realize how much more there is to learn. I realize how little I know and the vastness of everything that there is to know. And it's like, wow. So I just stay eternally on that quest for knowledge. I stay eternally on that quest for truth and for understanding, which is understanding why something is true so that I can then apply that knowledge. He said delete, and not really delete, but so I gave the analogy earlier, Brian, that I don't really delete it, but I do get it off the hard drive and I store it in the cloud. Right? So I take it off the hard drive because the hard drive has a limited space. So the new knowledge comes into the brain, that's the hard drive. But when I apply it and I teach it, now it's getting into my spirit, or in other words, it's going into the cloud. So I still have eternal access to it, but it's not taking up space on the hard drive. So I can get new information in and do the same thing. So imagine, so we know that, and when we're watching cartoons, right, every character, when they're talking, they would have the little cloud bubble over their head. So I want you to start thinking about the cloud bubble over somebody's head, and somebody has a cloud bubble this big. And then others who are actually action takers, they have cloud bubbles that are this big. Because as they're doing, all of those experiences, it's taking that knowledge and it's storing it in their cloud, in their reservoir. So they're able to not only access an infinite amount of wisdom, but they're able to continue to bring wisdom in. You think about I'm reading the book, The Millionaire Next Door. It said millionaires read the average of 2 to 4 books per month. And I was like, man, because I'm not an avid reader, guys. I will admit I'm not an avid reader. So when I read that stat, and I study wealthy people, I'm looking to be a millionaire on my way to being a billionaire. I said, wow, I got to start reading 2 to 4 books a month. And then I said, well, where does all of that knowledge go? And I started thinking about this concept. I said, you know what? They read it, they learn it, they gain understanding on it, they implement it, and then that knowledge goes into their cloud. And they may not use that information from that particular book they read this month for 5 years, but they still have access to it because they've used the information, right? They've taught the information. You ever sit back and watch some of the wealthy people do knowledge, and I mean, not do knowledge, but do lectures and stuff, and like, wow, where's all of these concepts coming from? It's coming from the books that they read. Right? And as they're teaching it, it becomes further ingrained in them, in their spirit, AKA in their cloud. So now they have eternal access to all of this wisdom. So if you are in the same place that you've been stuck for a little while, just understand that it may be because you're in the I already know mode. Got to kick yourself out of I already know mode and stay in I'm ignorant mode. Now, that's no slight, that's no disrespect, but you stay in I'm ignorant mode, because what is ignorance? All ignorance is the absence of truth. Admitting that I don't know. And when you admit that you don't know, that puts you on a quest to acquire knowledge. When you acquire the knowledge, now you have to understand what is understanding. Knowledge is the acquisition of truth. Understanding is to get to the why something is true. So you start out ignorant, you acquire knowledge, you acquire truth. Now you have that truth, you need understanding. Why is 12 times 12 144? My teacher had to break it down to me. Draw 12 little sticks here, draw 12 little sticks here. Do that 12 times, and then count all of the little sticks and tell me what you come up with. 144. Count them again. What do you come up with? 144. Count them again. What do you come up with? 144. That's called a fact. Every time you do that right and you count those little sticks, you're going to come up with 144 every time. Now you understand why 12 times 12 is 144. See, at first I knew, I had knowledge. I acquired the knowledge that 12 times 12 is 144, but I had no understanding. right? So that's the difference. So you have to start with ignorance, you acquire knowledge, you get understanding, and to get wisdom takes the application of those to gain an experience. So the first time I was tested on 12 times 12 is 144, or 12 times 12, and I wrote the answer 144, and I saw the check mark, bang, that's right. I got the experience that solidified that, yes, I understand that I got the knowledge, I understood why the knowledge is true, and I applied it, and yes, it worked just like they said it would work. Now I have that experience eternally. Eternally, right? Got the sun coming in through my big kitchen window. So now I got that knowledge eternally. It's forever in the cloud, in my reservoir. I don't have to use up space in my hard drive to think about 12 times 12, but I can always reach into the cloud and grab it when I need that information. That's what it's all about, man. That's where evolution comes from. All right, if you're not evolving, chances are you are in a position where you're always saying, I already know this, and you're not letting new information in. When you don't let new information in, you can't get a new output, point blank, period. So guys, that is it for today's show. Tomorrow, I got another hot show for you guys. I can't wait. I don't want to give you a teaser right now because I'm always looking for host or guests to be on the show. So if I can lock down the guests that I'm working on for tomorrow, I'll do that. If not, then I will bring you the show that I've already have prepared and planned for you. So today's show is sponsored by Drake's Place, American Cuisine, right there in Ferguson, Missouri. So if you're in the St. Louis metro area, I want you to go support my man. Sonny is the chef over there, and his wife Bridget is the owners. Just a real cool place. Nice atmosphere, good food, good prices, good service. You'll love it over there. Tell them your man H. Cortez sent them. I had a good conversation with them about some of the things that we could be doing as business owners in our community to create economic empowerment and community development. Man, it was awesome, man. So I told them I'd make them an honorary sponsor of the show for today. With that, I am your main man, H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the working class. Until I talk to you tomorrow, I want you guys to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. Peace out.